Python Essentials 2 Summary Test. If you want to fill a byte array with data read in from a stream, which method can you use? So this method is read into, and it is a method of the file object. So you would put like file, and then you pass the byte array here as a parameter, as an argument, I should say. What will the output of the following code located in the p.py file? So this is the kind of reserved variable, and this name will indicate main in this case, right? Because if we run a code directly when we run this file in Python, this name will have the value main, and it may have different value if we are importing p.py as a module, so then the name will be different. The compiled Python bytecode is stored in files which have their names ending with, they end with PYC, which stands for PyCache, and they are stored in the dunder cache directory. The following statement from A point B import C causes the import of. So it imports C, which is an entity. It could be function or object, for example. And it comes from it comes from the module B and package A. So let me find the correct option here. Entity C from module B from package A. So this is the correct option. Knowing that a function named fun resides in a module named mod and was imported using the following statement from mod import fun. Okay. Choose the right way to invoke the fun function. As we are invoking or importing this function in this specific way from module import, we specify the function we invoke. This function enters our primary namespace of our program. So that's why we do not need to specify the module name when we invoke this function. And invocation will look simply like fun. The following code, x equals, and then we print the length of this string. Okay, what will happen? Let's see. I think this one is a little bit tricky because this first character, the quote, it opens the string. Next, then we have two characters, and they are backslashes. The first backslash serves as an escape character, and that actually produces a backslash, just one backslash. Okay, and then the next, this one also serves as a backslash, as an escape character for the quotation mark, so it produces the quotation mark. But here is the problem: we do not have the closing quotation mark here, right? So this is not a correct definition of a string, and this will cause an error. What is the expected output? What is the expected result of executing the following code? Okay, we have class I, which presumably defines an iterable or iterator class. And then later we use it in the for in block to extract x value from it from each iteration and just print this x. Okay, now let's take a closer look inside the class itself. We have the init method, we have the iter method, and I'm going to assume that this is just a little bit of typo in the test, and this line has to start here together, because otherwise this code will produce an error. Let's make sure, see. No, we don't have any option here that this code is erroneous. However, like literally reading this code, this will not work. Or yeah, it might work, but not in a proper way anyway. So this iter defined as a sub-function of init, which doesn't make sense at all. So I'm going to assume that this is this line has to be here. So we have init, we have iter, which is the part of the iterator protocol, so it should return the object itself. And we have next method to iterate through. So let's see. First of course, the init method is called when the object instance is created for the iteration. So we have s, abc, right? abc, and we have is 0. Right? This is the counter. What this does if self I equals length. So if we are at the end of this string right now, then we raise stop iteration, and that is our stopping condition. V equals self s, self I. Okay, so V will take the value of A. Okay, because it's a character at position 0 right now. Self I will increase, so the next I will be 1. Okay. And then we return this value. We return A. Okay. And this A is printed. Then the next iteration happens. We have 1. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, actually. There is no need to even go further into detailed analysis. It just prints every character one after another, and stopping condition is when we are at the end. So it will simply print A, B, C, right? I is incremented by 1 on each iteration, very straightforward. So this will print ABC. What is the expected result of executing the following code? Try, raise exception, 1 to 3, accept exception as E. This is the instance of that exception. And we print length of this args property of our instance. So args property of the exception will have all the arguments which are passed into the exception bound together as a tuple. So that should print 3 because it will be just a tuple with length of 3, and this should print that. Look at the following code. We have some numbers. We will need to insert line of code here, and then we print list of foo. Okay, which line would you insert in order for the program to produce the expected output? 0, 4, 49, 81, 100. So basically each of these numbers is multiplied by itself. Okay, let's see. Of course, we will need to apply this multiplication function to each item here in this list, and we will use the map function for this. Okay. However, yeah, that's fine. That works. And what this map function does, it will apply this lambda function to the numbers list, which will be applied to individually to an element, each element, and the results will be bound into a list. Yep, and this num is just the squared. So each of numbers will be squared here. So this is the answer. And then we just convert this to list unnecessarily because it is already a list, and just print it. Okay. Which pip command will you use to uninstall a previously installed package? It is the uninstall command, and it is done without any minuses in front of it, because minuses, this double minus indicates an option, right? Not a command, but uninstall is the command itself. Okay. If the class constructor is declared in the following way, we declare a class, we declare a constructor with one parameter pass, which one of the assignments is invalid. Okay, let's see. Can we instantiate this class this way? Yes, because we call the class, we call the constructor with the one parameter and with one argument, and it is taken as val So this is correct. Can we do that like 2 arguments? The answer is no, because this self here, it's just kind of needed for Python purposes. Yeah, because you must indicate self as the first parameter for each class method anyway, when you declare the class methods. Actually, this takes only 1 parameter, or it can only take 0 parameters, because this parameter here has a default value. So this call is totally fine because we pass the value of none as val, and this is also fine. We do not pass any argument here, and val will take the value of 0. So this is the only incorrect way to invoke this class method. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We define O is a function, we define a Q is a function inside that function, we return the star multiplied by P, and here we return the function itself, so we return the Q. Python is able to deal with functions as kind of data on its side. So what this code will do, it will it will invoke the O function with parameter 1 and return the Q as a function without actually executing the code within the Q function. And it will do the same for S. So R and S will actually store, each of them will store the function itself, right? And this function hasn't been executed yet. And if we even print this, we will see there is a function something, right? There is no reasonable value yet. And only with this command, when we call these functions, R and S respectively, they both will be called and they will be will produce a sensible result. So let's see what each of them will do. This R is actually O with the argument of 1. So what it will do, it will multiply, it will produce just 1 star, right? So this will produce just 1 star or asterisk. And S, what S will do, it will produce 2 of them because it's the string duplication. It will produce 2 of them. These 1 and these 2 and the 1 that will be put together in concatenation, and basically this will print a string of 3 asterisks. The following code: print char ord p plus 2. Okay, so what ord does, it returns back the code of a specific character, or more precisely speaking, the code point for p, and then it is incremented by 2, so it will be 2 more, and then it converts back into a character with a CHR. So from P, Q, R, the character 2 for 2 places away to the right from P is R, and that should print R. Assuming that the open invocation has gone successfully, the following snippet: for X in open file RT, print X will. So we have a file, and this is read and text in text mode. So X will take the value of strings or lines from that file, one after another, and this will be printed. Yeah, so this should be the correct answer, because it will be read. The file will be read line by line. So that's how this text mode works specifically. Actually, what gives us this information that this will be read line by line and no other way around is this T symbol over here. However, if it's not even here, this T symbol, it would be just R, it will still be the same, because by default, open works in the text mode. It attempts to open a file in text mode, and whenever file is open in the text mode, iteration through the file handler or stream goes line by line. What output will appear after running the following snippet? Import math, print dir math. What built-in dir function does, it lists all the properties and methods which are available in an object or in a module like we have over here. So the correct answer should be a list of all the entities residing in the math module. Okay, other answers here is just to make sure I'm not making any mistake. The number of all the entities. No, it doesn't give the number. It gives the exact list of these entities. A string containing the fully qualified name of the module. This is not correct either. So that's what it is. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We have class A. We have a constructor, which does nothing. Okay. What we do, we create an object of class A with and we pass 1 as an argument to the class constructor. What this should do, this should cause an error because self is the mandatory parameter which should be always indicated in the class method definition as a first parameter. However, it can be, it should not, it can be something else as well, but the convention is, and it's really, really best to follow the convention. The convention is that has to be the word self. Okay. So, and there is no other parameters. So basically this constructor takes no parameters at all. We are trying to pass a parameter to it, and this will cause an error. And our option here is this one. This code will raise an exception. What is the expected result of executing the following code? So we define a function which defines an s as a string, and we go over a range taken in from this parameter n, and we increase our string, and we yield on each iteration, we yield a result here. So this is a generator function. How we use the generator function? We use it in the for loop, in the in statement, taking out and kind of grabbing a value from it on each iteration. So on each yield will be individually put into x, and this x will be printed by the print command. So let's see what will happen here. We have 2 as the parameter for the range. This will generate 0 and 1 for us, right? So this will be I. And S on this, the first run will be S plus itself, right? So it will be plus already. And this plus will be yielded by the yield statement and will be printed on the console by the print command. So this will print plus. There is nothing printed after it, so it will continue further on down the line. And on the next iteration, we have 1, doesn't matter even, but what we have S, again, added to itself and stored this way, and we have S as 2 pluses right now. On this iteration, our S will become plus, 4 pluses altogether, and these will be yielded again and printed. So 4 more plus characters will be printed, and overall we will see 6 plus characters in the console. And this is the answer. What is the expected result of the following code? From datetime, import datetime. We define one datetime and another one. And we subtract datetime 2 from datetime 1. So let's see what will happen. We have the same date, same day. The only difference is the time, right? Datetime 1 is later than datetime 2, which means that this time delta will be positive, and this time delta will be just the time, 11 hours. And the question here is about the format of how this time delta will be printed. Okay, and I am not really sure about this. I think it will, of course, not be 0 days, and it will not be printed in this way. The real question is whether it will print 0 days in front of this time, or it will not print that 0 days. So this is something I'm not really certain about. I think I'll go with this because probably it doesn't make sense. It, as I don't remember it exactly, it could be either of those, right? No problem of having one or another, but I will try to go with this one. And if I'm not correct, we will see it later in the results. Assuming that the following three files, a.py, b.py, and c.py, reside in the same directory, what will be the output produced after running the c.py file? Okay, what we have here, we have a.py, it prints the a character, b imports a and prints b, c prints c and imports a and b. Okay, let's kind of analyze that. So we run c.py. The first thing it does, it prints c, okay, which actually kind of eliminates two options for us already. But what happens next? It imports a, right? And when it imports a, the a is printed, c, a, and then it imports b. What b does, first of all, it imports a, and what happens here is nothing, because when imports are done in Python, if a specific file or module was already imported before, it will not execute its code one more time. Okay, so this import a will not print another a, it will just print b. So C, A, B should be the correct answer. What is the expected effect of running the following code? We have class defined, we have a class constructor with just one parameter of v, and we set the self variable dunder a with v plus 1. Okay, we create an instance of that class, passing 0 as the parameter. This self dunder a will have a value. And what we do here is we just try to print the value from here. So this will not work because these kind of entities with dunders or double underscores in front of properties, whether properties or methods, whether instance or class, they are treated in a special way by Python. So what Python interpreter does, it does what is called property or method mangling, so name mangling, and it transforms it upon interpretation to, so in this case it will be dunder a, but it also adds the class name from here to it and one underscore before. So actually we cannot access this variable this specific way, and this will cause an error. And we still can actually access this value using that mangled name if we really want to. But the whole point of all this ordeal is just to make this variable private, because Python doesn't really have the proper way to implement private properties and methods. It just does it in this Pythonic way. So anyway, someone who wrote this class, they actually want this a variable to be private and not be to be accessible from the outside, right? So anyway, this code will raise an attribute error exception. Okay, we are halfway, good to go. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We define class A, we define class B, and it is a child of class A. we define class C, which is in its turn child of class B. And the question is, we check is subclass A of C. So A is the parent, C is the child, right? And this function is subclass will produce false because A is not a subclass of C. It is actually a superclass of C. So that should print false, and that is our option over here. If we would reverse C and A in this call, that would produce true because C is a subclass of A, however, not directly. It is still a subclass. Yeah, but exactly with this call, this will return false. If there are more than one except branches after the try clause, we can say that one or more except blocks will be executed. This is not correct. Exactly one except block will be executed. That is correct. If we have multiple except blocks, each except block will handle its own exception or maybe multiple exceptions, but there will be no except blocks which will be executed which will be executed together with another except block. So basically only one of them will be executed. None, not more than one. Oh, okay. So this is an important point. This is actually the correct answer because one another scenario is there is no exception, right? We have try block, we have some code in this try block, and it just works fine. There is no exception and no except blocks are executed. So not more than one will be executed is the correct answer, right? So either 0 or 1. What is the expected output of the following code? Class A, we define a property of that class with the same name. And for Python, this is absolutely fine. Python would not have any problem with that. We define the constructor for this, and we also define a variable, the property, and this will be the instance property. Okay, so okay, what will happen here? This hasEther will return false because the class A itself, it does have the A as a class property, but this is the capital A, but it has not been instantiated, right? And because it hasn't been instantiated, no instance was created, right? This init constructor was not run, and this property, which is supposed to be the instance property, was not created. And that's why it is just not there. Okay, so I believe this will return false. Look at the following code. We have numbers and we have a list comprehension here. Let's right away note what this list comprehension will produce. So it will iterate I or generate I as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items overall, according to the range function. And what will be in the list will be the squared of each of these numbers squared. So 0, 1, 4, 9, 16. So that's what will be in the numbers list over here. Then we have some line of code here, and we print foo. Let's see how foo is generated. Or before that, actually, let's see what should be the output. The output should be 1, 9. So actually, this and this has to be saved, right? How we can achieve that? With which of these commands? Well, first of all, that has to be a filter command. Map doesn't do what we want because map would produce the output of the same size, of same length as the input, and filter reduces the input. Let's see how it is filtered. It is filtered with a lambda function. A lambda function here, if it returns true, this element is kept. And if it returns false, this element is filtered out. So let's see. This lambda will keep items. So what it does, it just does modulus, and this does division by 2. Okay. So let's actually do very detailed analysis, right? So this is for modulus. 1 modulus 2 is 1. Okay, and 9 modulus 2 is 1 because they are odd numbers, and others will be zeros because they are even numbers. And I think this is the correct answer, but just in case, let's just double check this one as well, as I have written the line here for it. So this will divide each by 2. So 0 divided by 2 will produce, and this is actually interesting, 0.0, because this is the float division. This will be 0.5. This will be 2.0. This will be 4.5, whatever, and this will be 8.0. So this call will actually filter out only the first item, 0, and will keep the 4 others. Anyway, this is correct, lambda function, and this is the, not this one, excuse me, but this one is the correct answer, because of course it has to be filter function, not the map function. Yes. Next question. What is the expected result of executing the following code? So we have 3 classes defined. We have some methods defined in these classes in a tricky way. We have A, prints A. We have A here under B, it prints B. And we have C, which is a subclass of both B and A. So it has 2 parent classes or 2 superclasses. It defines a C method, which is calling the A method. Okay, I think this may be a little bit tricky, but interesting question. So let's see what happens here. We create an object of class C, of course, and we call this method C. Let's see what this method will do. It calls the self method A. What it will do? First of all, it will look, oh, is there the A method in me? No, there is no such method. Okay, let's move forward. The next where it will look in its subclass. First of all, this one, because it goes from left to right in the list of subclasses. Does class B have this method A? Yes, it does have it, and it is just defined A here. It prints B, and that's it. Yeah, so it's actually not that tricky. It just will print this B, and we'll do nothing more. Yep. So the code will print B is the correct answer. What is the expected result of the following snippet? Try, raise exception, accept, base exception, print A or exception B, or default except block is C. First of all, there is no any problem here with this code. One thing we need to remember to answer this question correctly is that what is the exception hierarchy, exception class hierarchy in Python? And in this exception hierarchy, base exception is actually the base, right? It's the super class, which is on the very top, and exception is a subclass of base exception, right? Which means when we check this except clause, we see, oh, is the exception we have, which is the exception clause, is it base exception? And the question is yes, no. To answer this question, we need to remember the term from the object-oriented programming concept, which is called polymorphism, which basically means any subclass is also kind of the parent class as well, right? Or, well, let's not go into details. Basically, this exception will be caught here because it is also the base exception, right? And A will be printed and nothing more will be printed because the only one of the except blocks is executed. So this code will print A. What is the expected result of the following code? Import OS, we create a directory pictures, we navigate into this directory pictures, and we print the result of the get cwd command. And get cwd is get current working directory. So that should actually print the directory pictures and with the full path for this directory. Let's see, the code will print the name of the created directory. No. The code will print the content of the created directory. No. The code will print the owner of the created directory. No. And the code will print the path to the created directory. Yes, so getCwd returns the full path for the current directory. The following code prints length of x, and x is a string, and how long will be the string. Because each we have like 4 backwards backslashes, right? They work in the way that the first slash is the escape character for the next one. So basically, these 2 guys, they produce just 1 slash, and these 2 guys, likewise, they produce 1 slash. This is the way how slashes can be implicitly put into a string, and that's basically 2, and the length of the string will be 2. The following code, print float 1.3. 1.3 as a string is a proper representation of a float, so this will convert into float and will be printed as a float this way, 1.3. Comma is not the decimal delimiter in at least any programming language I know. However, comma is used in some languages or some locales as the delimiter for decimals. 13 doesn't make sense, and there will be no value error. So this is the correct answer. The sys std_error stream is normally associated with, very simple, it is associated with the screen. Whenever you run a code and you encounter an error like an exception, this exception is just put into your output, right? So it's by default, it just prints on the screen. The following statement, assert variable that is not equal to 0. What does it do? So what assert does, this is a keyword or command that checks whether this condition here or this expression, here, it can be anything, it could be value, it could be any expression, whether it is true or false. So if it is true, then everything is fine. So it's passed and nothing happens. But if it is false, then assert will raise the assertion error exception. And the execution will be stopped if this exception is not caught. So let's see. It will stop the program when variable equals 0. It will stop the program when variable is not equal to 0. This is the correct answer. So it will stop the program when var is 0. So if we put 0 here, 0 is not equal to 0. Or I'm confusing myself in very simple logic, right? So when it is 0, 0 equals, okay, my brain suddenly stopped working. We'll stop the program when this variable equals to 0. Yes, this is correct. So if it is 0, then this condition becomes false, and then this assertion will raise the exception and the code will be stopped. Yeah, this is correct answer. What is the expected output of the following code? We have class defined with the constructor method, which takes in one parameter with a default value, and it sets the local variable to this parameter value. And we also have the set method, which also takes a parameter. It increases the value of the instance variable or property by the value we have passed, and then returns it back. Okay, let's see what will happen when we execute these lines of code. We create an instance of that class, okay? Instance A. What happens? This init is called, and a.v is set to the value of 2. Why? Because we are not passing any value over here as an argument, and then the default parameter value is taken and set. Okay. Then what we do, we create b, which is another. B equals a means we just create another variable which kind of really stores the same object, right? Because objects in Python are addressed by reference. B is exactly the same as a, right? So b and a is the same. So if we access, for example, b.v, this would print 2 for us. Okay, so we have done that, and then we called set method on b, which, remember, is exactly the same as calling set method on a. Okay, and when set method will be called, the v parameter will assume the default value because there is nothing passed, which will be 1, and self v will be incremented by 1. It will take the value of 3, and this will be returned. Actually, it doesn't matter at all, because whatever this set method returned will be just wasted. It will not be saved anywhere. But you remember that the instance variable v will still store the value 3. And over here, we access this value and print it out with the print command. So this code overall will just print this value 3. What is the expected result of the following code? We import calendar, and we call calendar set first week day as Sunday, the American way. And we print calendar week header 3. Well, okay, it's very simple, I think. Actually, it doesn't give us many options to choose from. This argument 3 we pass to the week header function. It instructs this week header to produce the string of week header with each day of week indicated in a 3-character long form. So this will be the output. So that's what this function call returns. What is the expected result of the following snippet? Exception, we have 3 except blocks, but one problem with this, they are misordered, right? So there is one rule. If you have multiple except blocks, the except block with no indication of a specific exception, like this one, it must be last, right? Because it is a default except block, and it is the kind of the block of last resort, and it should be placed at the bottom, a last block in the list. So this code overall is erroneous, and it will cause a syntax error itself. Let's look at the code below. We import module random. There are some lines of code here, and we print ABC. Which lines of code would you insert so that it is possible for the program to output the following result? So the key here is the key word here in this question is it is possible, right? Now it is not guaranteed that exactly this output will be produced, but yeah, so they are because there is some randomness in this in this generation. So let's see what can produce like 6, 82, and 0 out of these commands as ABC. 6 can be produced by randint, of course. Yeah. So let's maybe even try to exclude right away. So this will not produce 6 because choice will select from 0, 103, and 6 is not possible to get from there. So it's either so far either this or this, and there is also fourth option. Let me scroll down. Rand range. Okay, so rand range from 10 to 100 with a step 3 will not be able to produce 6. Okay, even on the first number, we have already eliminated 2 options. So we should decide between option 1 and option 3. The next number is 82. Let's see whether it will produce. It will be able to produce 82. So the choice here will be selecting. Will be selecting between 0, 103, and it will not be able to produce 82 under any circumstances. Right? This rand range from 10 to 100 with the step 3, will it be able to produce 82? So 10. Okay. Yes, it will, I think. So let's. It's step 3. So what we need to do, we need to basically produce 72 because we start with 10 to get 82. This has to kind of this 72 must be divisible by 3, right? And 72 is divisible by 3, right? Yes, it is. And which means that, yes, this line will be able to produce 82 because we start with 10 and 82 is not divisible by 3, but 72 is, and adding 10, perfectly fine. And it is basically 82 is within the range, and it is one of the steps, one of the values if we consider the step of 3. So this works. This works. Let's check just the last one to make sure we are not making any mistake. Random rand in between 0 and 100, and this will totally be able to produce 0. Okay, so this option is. I'm not looking where I should be looking, actually. I have just realized. So we were looking between first and third, and I got confused myself a bit. This we have checked. This we have checked here because it is actually exactly as this one. Let's check the last one. It is the choice function, and choice function can generate either 0 or 100 or 3, and it generates 0 in this case, so this will be able to produce the output. So this checks as well, and this should be the correct answer. Okay, if S is a stream opened in read mode, the following line, Q equals S read 1, will read what it will read. It will read one line from the stream, 1 kilobyte from the stream, 1 character, or 1 buffer. Okay, assuming, and I think based on the options we are giving, we should assume that this stream is opened in the text mode. Okay, the read command, which is called without any arguments, I think it reads a line of text, but if it is given an argument, it will read just 1 character from that text. So that should be the correct answer. Which of the following commands would you use to check PEEP's version? Okay. We need to select 2 answers. We have PEEP version and PEEP3 version. I think these 2. Because version is this minus version is not a command. It's kind of what's it called, like an option, right? And we are not commanding pip to do anything. We just ask it to print the version, and that is the correct syntax for it, right? This version is not a command. However, I think somewhere in the course, I have actually seen that as a correct answer to this question. I can recall there was a weird question where out of similar options, there were 3 correct out of 4. You had to actually select 3 correct options. It was quite confusing. And I guess it's because considering that pip or Python, it can be compiled, it can be available on so many very different platforms. It could be possible that it can use a weird syntax on some of these platforms. So anyway, for this question, I will go with pip3 version or pip version, and that should work. What information can be read using the uname function provided by the OS module? Okay. Okay, one question I have, what does this code has to do with the question? And frankly, it looks like nothing. It looks like it is here just for fun or whatever. So just reading the question, I don't know why this code is here. It doesn't make sense. What information can be read using the uname function provided by the OS module? Hardware identifier, operating system name, last login date, and current path. I do not really remember that. And I will have to guess to some extent. I think this gives these two, like hardware identifier and operating system name. I don't think it gives last login date, and current path is not something which would be returned by a uname property. Okay. It is interesting. So not really sure, but I think what gives like a system name, maybe. So it has to deal with the machine itself, the uname, and yeah. So for me that these two options they make more sense. Yeah. If I'm wrong, we will see this in the results. What is the expected result of the following code? We import time delta from datetime, okay, and we create a variable constructing the time delta with 1 week, 7 days. That actually makes it 2 weeks already, and 11 hours. So it is 2 weeks, 11 hours. What else we do? We multiply this time delta by 2, and this is a legal operation. So you can do arithmetical operations with time delta. Time delta is basically duration in time. So you can add couple durations together, subtract duration from duration, I guess, and you can multiply a duration to a number, doubling the time duration. So in this case, as we have had 2 weeks, 11 hours, what this multiplication does, it changes it to 4 weeks, 22 hours. And because it is displayed in days, right? The time delta, when it is printed, it's displayed in days. 4 weeks is 28 days and 22 hours. This is the correct option. And this actually matches how the output of printing time delta looks like. It gives you the number of days. Even if you put maybe 7,000 days, it would still print 7,000 days. It will not convert it to years or centuries for you. It will just list the number of days and just the time in the hours, minutes, seconds format. So this is the correct answer. The following line of code, 4-line in open a file, and we open this file in read and text mode, indicated by this RT. It may be valid if line is a list. Does make sense. We actually iterate. What this open command does, it returns the stream or file handler, and this file handler, this stream in Python, can be treated as an iterable. So we can actually use for to iterate through it, and on each iteration, it will put the next line of text into the line variable, right? Because we have the text mode also. Isn't valid because open returns a non-iterable object. Not correct. Is valid because open returns an iterable object. That's what I just said. Okay, so that was the last question. Let's check for any errors.